Today I'm going to share with you the exact process that I used to find my very first profitable product on Amazon, and the process that I'm going to share with you is the very same process that I have now been using for years, and my team and I have found well over 100 different products using this exact process. At the end of this video, I'm going to give you 4 strategies that I think will be very helpful to you in your e-commerce journey, so be sure you stay around to the end to check them out. There are a lot of people trying to moonlight and build a successful business on Amazon. At last count, there are somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 million third-party sellers, most of whom are selling less than $100,000 a year worth of product. Most of these folks, if they are not full-time, deeply desire to become full-time so that they can have a lifestyle that is filled with passive income and free time. The sad thing is that most people give up far too soon. They, in the beginning especially, they lack the experience necessary to choose that correct, profitable first product. And the reality is it's very, very difficult to do. Even more so when you don't have experience. And then the result of that, of course, is for many people, they choose that first product, it doesn't pan out for them, they lose money and they quit. To avoid losing money, you need experience. So how do you get the experience? Well, the only way to get the experience is to actually start selling products. And the more products that you sell, the more experience that you'll have and the better that you'll get at picking your products in the future. Most of the people here on YouTube are teaching a strategy called private label, which is essentially where you do all of this product research, which takes hours and is mind-numbingly boring. And then you go on to Alibaba and you try and find an apple slicer or garlic crusher or whatever it is that you're going to stick your own sticker on, and then you're going to try and sell that product on Amazon. The problem with this approach is that it is a very high risk approach. It takes a very long time to come to market, and the reason for that is simple. You have to spend all these many hours doing product research, and many people never get out of that because of analysis paralysis. They're simply too scared to pull the trigger. Then, assuming that you do pull the trigger, you've got to start ordering samples and then from multiple factories. Then you've got to figure out which one that you want to go with. Then you have to submit your order, which is probably going to cost you anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000. And then the product is going to be shipped to you, and you have to register a UPC, and you've got to create a new product listing, which means you need to take pictures, and you need to write sales copy, and you need to do keyword research, and then you need to figure out how you're going to get the product to actually rank in the Amazon search results. In the old days, people used to give away a lot of product, which only added to their losses in exchange for reviews. Of course, you can't do that anymore. So now people are starting to run Amazon pay-per-click campaigns. Maybe they're using Amazon's Vine service. Maybe they're running Facebook traffic. And it's just money headed out of their pocket with every single step along the way. And all of this can very, very easily translate into you making absolutely no money whatsoever, or in fact losing a substantial amount of money, which becomes extremely frustrating and discouraging. When I first started on Amazon, I took the private label approach as well because I didn't know that there was another approach. And so I spent my first 5 months really struggling. I spent a lot of time doing product research. When I finally thought that I had the 2 best products, which in hindsight was kind of laughable, but anyway, these products were essential oil diffuser necklaces and also the shock collar that you'd put on a dog that barks too much. And I thought, you know, I'm an experienced guy. I've been in business. Surely I'm going to get this right. And unfortunately, I didn't. I picked 2 products that were overly competitive. And as a result of that, I ended up having to give away a substantial amount of inventory in promotions, which added to my losses. I had to run pay-per-click campaigns, which added to my losses. And after 4 or 5 months of doing this, I was selling, sure, $20,000 or $30,000 a month worth of products, mostly because of Amazon Lightning deals, which used to be free and now they're not. But at the end of the day, I wasn't making any money at all, and I was feeling super, super discouraged. And thankfully, right around then, I learned that there was another way to get started on Amazon. The new way that I learned was, instead of going down the private label approach, I could instead resell proven brand name products on Amazon. Now, why I didn't think of this is completely beyond me, and depending upon where you are in your Amazon journey, maybe it hasn't occurred to you either. And it's not something that the vast majority of other people here on YouTube are talking about, but they should be, because it is such a low risk way to get started on Amazon. Think about this. When the product already exists, I don't have to create a listing. I don't have to launch the product. I don't have to worry about reviews. I don't have to worry about getting it ranked. All I have to do is figure out where I can buy that product at a wholesale price so that I can ship it into Amazon, turn around and sell it for a profit at a retail price. And the good news is that's not nearly as complicated as you might think. Step number one is you can simply call up the brand or email the brand that makes the thing, and you can say, I'd like to open a wholesale account. Now, they may or may not approve you. They may give you a price list, and there may or may not be margin available. Now, if there is not margin available, it's up to you to negotiate a better price. Now, let's go down the road for a minute of the fact that they decide, well, we're not going to approve you because we don't want any more Amazon sellers, or whatever their reason is. Well, perhaps you can then ask them, or you can find out from Googling what distributors, in other words, middleman companies, carry that product, and could I get a wholesale account with those companies to be able to resell the product? And you don't have to just sell it on Amazon. We sell on Walmart, we sell on eBay, we sell on Jet, and of course we sell on Amazon. By taking this approach, this significantly lower risk approach, you're going to make it much, much easier to get your first successful, profitable product, because it's almost impossible to lose money by using this approach. And the reason for that is this: there's all sorts of historical data available, whether you're using Jungle Scout or Viral Launch or Keepa or whatever tool you would like to use. You can see very clearly the historical sales volume of the product. You can also see the historical price range that that product is. You can also see the number of sellers that are currently on that product simply by looking at the screen on Amazon. And from that, with a little very simple math, you can figure out, well, if I was to become one of the sellers of this product and get my share of the buy box, I would be able to make X dollars per month. And by taking that approach, I was able to grow my business. After struggling for 5 months with the private label approach, I was able to take my business from basically zero to over $100,000 per month in just 5 months. Suffice to say, that feeling of failure and that frustration rapidly disappeared, and it's basically just been a continual climb ever since then. Now, I shouldn't say continual climb. There are periods when our revenue has gone down, but overall the business has been very, very good, and it has had a massively positive impact on my life. So now I want to talk about the 4 things that I promised you at the very beginning of this video. Thing number 1 is mindset. If you are making the transition from being an employee to that of an entrepreneur, your mind needs to actually work a bit differently. And the number 1 thing that I would encourage you to think about is setting your expectations that success is going to take you longer than you would expect. Whenever you buy a training course from one of those private label folks, they're going to say, hey, and this is really easy and everybody's doing it and you're going to make money right away. And to be honest with you, most of that is all complete bullshit. It is much harder than the picture that they paint to be successful. The software tools are very powerful, which means that the undiscovered niches, well, they're all discovered, which is why having success using the private label approach is so much more difficult than they would have you believe. So even in the approach that I'm talking about, where you resell brand name products, you're still going to get told no most of the time by those manufacturers. But the times that you convince them to say yes, or you can buy the product from a distributor, make up for all of the other times when you didn't get the answer that you want. All of that to say, step 1 or rule 1 is expect your success to take longer than you think it is going to. Number 2, just start. By far, I've been creating videos and interviewing people on my podcast now for 8 years. I've been an entrepreneur for 20 years. And as a result of the audience that I've built, I've answered many questions. And by far, the number 1 thing that I see that stands in people's way of becoming successful is analysis paralysis, fear of taking action. You need to stop watching YouTube videos and set goals and take action, because the real learning, the learning you cannot get from a training course, that happens once you actually start selling products. And again, with private label, you have to take all this risk, which makes making that first move really, really scary. But in reselling brand name products, the risk is so low and you can start with such a small amount and your inventory risk is so low. So there's really no reason to not get started. Number 3, create documented systems for everything that you do. In the beginning, this can be as simple as simply opening up a Google Doc and using words and pictures to kind of create instructions for the thing that you're doing. Or if you like to have something a little bit fancier, you can go and use my Flowster software. That's where we keep all of our standard operating procedures, and there'll be a link to that down below. Regardless of how you do it, make sure that you document all of your processes, because step 4 is you need to hire help. And that help will typically come in the form of a virtual assistant, which you can very easily find in the Philippines, happy to work for $3, $4, $5 per hour. And if you give them sufficiently clear instructions, step 3, document your processes, they will be the best little worker bees you have ever seen. And all that stuff that you shouldn't be doing, that's taking hours and hours and hours of your time, you can easily delegate to your virtual assistants. And that was one of the key things. Step 3 and 4, document and hire, were the 2 major decisions I made in my first 5 months. And that's why my business was able to go from 0 to over $100,000 a month in just 5 months, because of the fact that I documented my systems and I hired virtual assistants. Thank you very much for watching my video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. If you have questions, please leave those questions in the comments below. And if you would like to get more detailed information on the product sourcing strategy that I've used, I teach that in a free webinar. There will be a link to that webinar right down below. I believe it's brightideas.co/FBA, and I look forward to seeing you then.